Hello, crafty friends, and welcome to my channel, Create with Kalia. I'm Kalia. I am so excited to be creating a two-page layout today using photographs from a trip that my family took to northern Minnesota in 2019. I'm going to be using Stampin' Up's Lake Life collection for this two-page scrapbook layout. The Lake Life collection is a suite of products that is close to my heart branded and that Stampin' Up decided to purchase the rights to when Close to My Heart decided to close. The entire collection is themed around adventures that take place at the lake. I am so excited for this set because growing up in northern Minnesota, land of 10,000 lakes, I have a lot of lake pictures that I still need to get to scrapbooking. In fact, I'm so excited to start using this paper suite that I have already started thinking about what my first layout is going to look like. I have not even received the papers, but I'm already starting to work on the first layout that I'm going to do, as you can see here. I've already decided that these are the pictures that I want to use for my layout, but now I'm trying to decide what order I want to have them in. I've been thinking that I want to have the 4x6 in the top left with a 4x4 right next to it and this 3x4 underneath. I also like the idea of having the 4x4 on the right hand page with the 4x6 next to it and having one long strip of paper in the background. But I'm not totally sure that that's how my final layout is going to end up looking. I do like that each of the canoe pictures are pointing in towards the center of the page, but at this point I think I'm going to bring in the colors that are part of the paper suite and see if that can help me make a decision. I'm about to say toffee several times when I mean acorn. I've pulled out cardstock in the colors that are included in this suite. There's sage, glacier, seabrook, toffee, and pine all included in this kit. I'm thinking that the pine and the toffee are definitely colors I'm going to use, and I think that I like the paddle paper that looks like it's made with a seabrook background. Now let me bring my pictures back in, and I'm going to see if I can test out the paper and see if I can come up with a color combination that I like. I kind of like the Seabrook for the background, but it doesn't feel like it's quite enough. I feel like the toffee helps make my pictures pop because that brown in the background matches some of the brown that's in my photograph. But when I go over to the pine, that's where the picture really pops for me and it really brings out a lot of the blue in the water. So again, I'm going to show you toffee, and then I'm going to show you pine, and I think you can really see a difference in terms of how much more the picture pops when it comes to the pine in the background compared to the toffee. That blue is really accentuated by the pine. And so I think I'm going to go with matting all of my pictures with about 1/8 of an inch of pine showing around the edge of the pictures. I prefer to print my pictures at home, which is why you see a white border around my pictures. I'm able to print them in an app that includes that white border, and that means I don't have to mat the pictures in white as well. I did know that I wanted to have that white border because I expected that I would be using a darker color background. I'm testing out a piece of Seabrook as the base of my layout. There is a paper that comes in this collection that has canoe paddles printed all over it, and I really like that pattern. And since my pictures are of a canoe trip, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to end up using that paper as my background paper. Now I'm putting a piece of toffee cardstock on top of the Seabrook so I can see if that combination works well for me, and I do like it. I then put my photographs back on the toffee, and I still am just not seeing that they are quite popping off of the toffee as much as I would like to see them pop. So I do think that using the pine as a mat behind my photographs is what's going to work best for me. I'm going to clear this off and go ahead and start cutting my pine mats for my photographs. For those of you who may be new to scrapbooking and using 12 by 12 cardstock, I'm going to show you a few tricks here on how to cut mats for 4 by 6 photographs. For my layout, I want a very thin 1/8 of an inch border around each of my 4 by 6 photographs. I'm going to place my 12 by 12 paper at the 6¼ inch mark. Then I'm going to cut down 4¼ inches from the top, so to the 7¾ inch mark on my paper trimmer. I then rotate my paper a quarter turn clockwise and again line it up at the 6¼ inch mark and cut down to 7¾ inches. Once I have cut all the way around the paper, I then slide the paper over to the 4¼ inch mark, and now I cut from the bottom up to meet up with the cut I have already made at 6¼ inches. There we go. And now I should have a perfect 6¼ inch by 4¼ inch mat for my 6 by 4 inch photograph. That gives me a 1/8 inch mat all the way around my photograph. I'm going to finish cutting my mats off camera and then come back and see if we can make some more decisions about what this layout will look like. So now I have all my photographs matted, and I do apologize. My camera got a little off focus here, so it will be blurry for a little bit and then it'll clear up in a little bit. I'm going to bring the Seabrook and the Acorn cardstock back in and just double check that I still am liking the way that things are looking. I'm also going to speed the video up at this point because I'll be doing a lot of rearranging photographs, just making sure that I like the way that things are looking and the way that they're placed on my page. I have decided that I like the way that my left page is looking, so now I'm bringing in a piece of Acorn to the right page again to see if I can figure out how I want my photographs. I had originally thought about having a strip running across the center of the right-hand page, but I like this configuration because that will allow me to put an embellishment cluster in the lower left-hand corner and up in the right-hand corner. I originally thought about cutting the Acorn cardstock at 8 inches, then remembered I still needed a journaling spot. I brought that in and realized now I have the perfect configuration to have an embellishment cluster on the lower left and the upper right, and then I'll cut my Acorn cardstock at the 9-inch mark. I've now received my Lake Life paper collection, and it's even better than I originally thought. The paper you see on top with the canoe paddles is the paper that I had planned on using as my background paper. I absolutely love this. I love the canoe paddles. And the back side of this paper is a pattern that reminds me of water in a glacier color. Next we have a net in the Acorn, and the back side of that is a plaid. Then we have this fun word paper. And finally we have this paper that has large icons on it with lots of boats. I also purchased the sticker sheet, which has some great stickers on it that can definitely be used for titles and other stickers that will work perfectly for my embellishment clusters. I've cleared off everything other than the Acorn paper with the net print on it and the paddle paper, which I have always intended on using as my background paper. As I get this paper down, I realize that the paddles actually don't show as much as I had originally hoped because the paddle icons are actually much bigger than I thought that they would be. Once I get my photographs placed back down, I do really like this Acorn net paper, but I'm realizing that the paddle paper does not work for me. So I flip it over to the water-themed paper on the back side and look at that. I think that works much better. So I'm going to go with that as my background paper with the net paper on top. I'm really liking that. So now I'm going to cut down my papers to the sizes that I want and start working on assembling my layout. On my left-hand page, I've cut down the Glacier colored water paper to 11.5 by 11 3/4. That'll give me a 1/4 inch border around 3 sides of the paper. I cut my net paper to 10 inches top to bottom and 11 inches from side to side. I decided that I wanted to ink up the edge of the net paper to help it pop out a little bit more from the Glacier paper, and you can see the difference right there. If you're following along with my layout, remember that there is directionality to the acorn colored net paper, and I cut mine from 10 inches top to bottom so that it would be oriented the way that I wanted. I also decided to ink around the Glacier paper with Glacier ink to help that pop out a little bit more as well. On the right hand side of my layout, I cut my Glacier strips to 1 inch by 6 3/4 inches and cut 2 of those to help me save on paper. For the net paper, I again cut 10 inches from top to bottom and then 9 inches from side to side and inked around the edges of everything. I've also gutted the white cardstock that is my base layer to in part help on how much weight this layout will be and also to help me save cardstock. You'll see that I also gut the Glacier paper for the left-hand side of the layout since most of that is actually covered by the acorn net paper. I finished inking all of my edges and now I've gotten my papers and my photos glued down, so now it's time to start embellishing. I grabbed this word paper thinking that that might make a fun banner, but it's a little too busy for me with all of the words. So I flip it over and this paper still just doesn't seem right for me with the large icons that are on the paper. I also try the paddle paper and I just don't like the way that the Seabrook and the Glacier look next to each other. Next I try this plaid paper, which is the opposite side of the net paper. I'm not sure about it, so I decide to pull in my sticker sheet and see what I think. I really like this banner sticker, especially with the canoe paddles being on it, but if I place it low like this, it leaves a lot of room up above the sticker that is a little too much blank space for me. I also like the sticker here in this placement, but then that leaves too much room below it. At this point, I bring that plaid back in and decide that I do really like that as an additional element to help take up some of that space. The piece of plaid paper is 9 inches by about 3 inches, and then I dovetail it at the halfway point. I've also inked around all of the edges of both the plaid paper and the banner title with Seabrook ink. And again, it makes both of those pop out just a little bit more from the page. I put some foam tape on the back of my banner and then put that down on top of my plaid paper. Now I'm going to just audition some embellishments around the page to see what I like and see what makes sense to me. I find a sticker that says good times and another that says sunshine, and I like those down right below that banner element on my 3x4 picture. I put those up on a little bit of foam tape and they work perfectly. Then I find this yellow sticker, and there is a little bit of yellow in a few of my pictures with one of the life jackets, and the paddle is kind of yellow. The bottom of the canoe is kind of a yellowish brown. And so it's just a little pop of color on my layout that helps bring some additional visual interest. I find a half circle yellow sticker that I really like and put that up above my 4x6 that's on the right hand page. Then I start looking at some of the Glacier stickers so that I have some different colors in each of my embellishment clusters. I really like this blue Glacier heart, and so I put that down next to my yellow sticker, and then I decide I want something Glacier up with that other yellow sticker. I find this little sticker that says outdoors on it in Glacier, and I pop that up on some foam tape as well, and then put that right next to that yellow half circle. Next, I spy this canoe paddle sticker, and I definitely want to use that in this layout since we are canoeing. So I try that in several different spots around the page, and I just can't quite find a good spot for it at this point. I try a couple different places, but it's just not really working for me in any of the places that I try. So I put that one back and start working on trying to build up my cluster on the right hand side. I tried this big sticker, and even though I really like it, I don't like that it's a rowboat, and it still just isn't quite the right look for what I'm going for. So I put that one back too. Next, I spy this white sticker that says Family Fun and put that on the yellow sticker so that now that says The Great Outdoors Family Fun. And I absolutely love the way that that looks. I also decide that I'm going to add some shimmer brush to help make a little bit of a water look on both of my pages. If you've never started a shimmer brush before, you need to shake it a little bit to make sure that the paint and the glitter get mixed around really well. Then you remove the yellow ring and screw the top back down tight. You then break up the bristles of the brush a little bit by pushing it against something. You can do it against a block or your finger. And then there are several ways to apply the actual shimmer itself. The way that I like to use is to dab a little bit onto my block to get the pen going and then to flick that onto the page. I take a look at what I've done so far, and I do like the way that it looks. I like that it gives it a little shimmer and a little bit of like a water drop look. But I also realized that I had initially put my paper right up against the banner piece and wanted to get a little bit more of the shimmer onto the acorn above the banner piece. So I put my papers back down to cover up my photographs to protect them, and then splatter a little bit more shimmer before moving over to the upper corner of the right hand page. I just want some small drops up in the upper right hand corner, just again to give that effect of some little water droplets. Next, I find this big sticker that says Sun Rays, Boat Waves, Lake Days, and I really like that for my layout. Even though we're not creating a whole lot of waves in a canoe, I still think that that's a perfect sticker for my little embellishment area up here on the right hand side of the page. It also gives me finally a spot to put my canoe paddle sticker that I've been looking for a home for. Next, I grab my Enjoy the Ride dots. I believe that the yellow in the sticker sheet for the Lake Life Suite is in honey butter, and the dots from the Enjoy the Ride suite work perfectly in my layout. I just start putting some dots around in my different embellishment clusters. I have 2 down by my Good Times and Sunshine, and then I put 3 around the Greatest Outdoors and Family Fun. I also put 2 up on the top left of my right hand page by my Outdoors sticker and my yellow sticker. I put 1 large dot at the top of my Sun Rays, Boat Waves, Lake Days sticker. And finally, I put 2 of the smallest stickers on the right hand side of that sign. That gives me a little bit of embellishment all around my page. I also realized that I want my canoe paddle up on foam tape, so I take that off carefully and put that on some foam tape, and then I'll stick it back up in the same location it was. Next, I grab my journaling, which I printed off from my home printer, and I put some tape runner on the back of that, and then I stick that down onto my page. I do my best to just eyeball it to get it center, and I'm happy with how that turns out. Next, I grab the Boat Rides sticker from the sticker sheet. This was a sticker I found earlier and absolutely loved it, and figured that it would work perfectly above my journaling as a title for my journaling. I put that up on some foam tape and put that at the top of my journaling block. I then realized that I had meant to put a piece of the plaid paper on the right-hand page as well. I like to carry things through from one page to the other page so that both pages have similar elements on them. I cut a piece of the plaid paper to 3 inches by 2 inches and dovetailed the end, then inked around the edges in Seabrook just like I had done with the other piece of plaid. And that finishes this layout for me. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think that this Lake Life collection is so fun. I know I'm going to be using it on a lot more layouts. and I'm really excited to be able to use some of the other elements that came with the collection. I'm also really excited that for this particular layout, I was able to complete it with only using the paper pack and sticker sheet, since quantities on some of the suite were very limited. I will link below all of the products that I used, and if you liked this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. Here's another video you might enjoy. Have a great day and craft on!